So when it comes to playing the gong, then there are different levels of expertise, you could say. So there's a more basic introductory level, and then there's a more advanced level, if we just keep it simple like that. So what I'm going to start off with is just talking about, the introductory level, how to really, which you want to get to grips with before you take on the more advanced stuff. So at the beginning, it's important just to learn to play with one mallet, okay? With one mallet that you're just going to experiment with and work with and get really comfortable with that. And of course there are all different types of mallets, and so I'm using actually a mallet that's been designed and manufactured by Pasty as well, particularly for these Pasty gongs. So these are high quality mallets that have got a very soft head and creates a beautiful sound. So to begin with, just working with one mallet, it's important not to kind of go at the gong too hard and fast at the beginning. Okay, so what we want to do is what we call priming the gong, which is just to get it going initially with some very quiet, slow, gentle sounds, because that's the way that the gong kind of, almost like it wakes up, and then you can start to play with it and make other sounds and allow that plasma of sound to develop, that envelope of sound to develop as you get into it. So you start off by priming the gong, and you can do that either by using your fingers, just to create some people call these fairy fingers, the fairy finger technique. And or you can use your mallet in just some slow, quiet, gentle strokes, just to get the gong primed. Okay, so notice what I'm doing is I'm doing this glancing movement downwards here, quite quiet, quite soft, quite gentle. That's priming the gong, and already the sounds are blossoming. A range of frequencies is emerging, and it's almost like now it's ready, it's primed, now it's ready to do something else. So what I wanted to do next was to talk about the different types of strokes. So, and it's almost like the different ways of playing to create different effects. Okay, so, but in particular I wanted to think about, it's really to do with the force with which we, or the effort, the energy that we exert when we play it. And I think it's great to just think about it quite simply in terms of there being roughly, 3 different levels to that. So there would be what you could say a soft way of playing, a firm way of playing, and then a hard way of playing. So it's soft, firm and hard. Okay, so a soft way of playing is a bit like what you do at the beginning when you're priming it, and just after you've primed it is you just play in quite a soft way. And then remembering that also within this is that in order to allow for the blossoming, for the resounding to occur, is that we don't want to be playing too close together. We don't want to be striking the gong too quickly, because if we strike it too quickly, particularly with the larger gongs you need to allow more gap between the strikes to allow for that full blossoming to occur. So repeated, frequent striking actually again kind of like deadens the sound. So we've got the soft, and then we can make it more firm, which is like 25 to 50% harder, you could say, or firmer. 25 to 50%. And when we do that, that's when the sound really emerges in its full force. Okay, so we've got the sense of the volume of sound that's created by the soft, firm, hard. Now the other thing that's really important when we're playing the gong is to be aware of the sense of rhythm. Okay, this is a percussion instrument, so rhythm is important, and so the really good gong players, you know, will work with rhythm in quite a conscious way, work with how they're striking it. Now, and again, we can think about rhythm just quite simply in terms of three ways. So there's either the slow, medium and fast, we could say. So we've got a slow rhythm which allows plenty of time, plenty of space for the blossoming. And then again we just increase it 25, 50% to get that medium rhythm. And then we can do it a bit faster again. Okay, so that's a faster rhythm. Now it's not like really fast, as in playing a drum. We don't need to go that fast, although the faster you play, although you might deaden the sound, you'll certainly get a louder sound, so it does affect it. The faster the rhythm, the louder the sound. So, but you do deaden the sound, or you don't get that blossoming. So you need to just work with those different dimensions of the firmness or the hardness with which you play it, and also the rhythm with which you play it as well. And we don't need to get into really complex rhythms with playing the gong, because it's not really about the quality of, or you don't really hear so much the tap with a gong. This is a muffled tone here. It's a muffled surface. So because we're allowing the sound of the gong to resound and blossom and create this overtones, and it's the envelope of sound that's important with the gong, rather than the percussive aspect of it. Okay, so now let's consider how we can build up some sequences of the sounds playing the gong. Now, remembering about the clock face here, 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock and 9 o'clock, that's a really good and then you've got these points here in the centre, above the centre line here. We can call this up. So if we strike that, we're going up. So that's like almost like 0, 0 up, and then we've got 0 down. So if we just think about those 6 places just now, the 12 o'clock, the 3 o'clock, the 6 o'clock, the 9 o'clock, 0 up and 0 down, that's a really good place to start, and to start building a sequence. Now, if we build a sequence where we start off with quite slow, soft, rhythmic glancing, starting off on the 6, or maybe the sweet spot, if you know where that is, but round about the 6, and then we go up to 3. I generally like to, initially starting off, so we're going 6, 3, 12, 9. So we just create a sequence like that. 6, 3, 12, 9. Okay, that's another point about this, is that, which I don't think I mentioned, is that if you're a right-hander, then generally what happens is that you play the 3 o'clock on a downward stroke, and you play the 9 o'clock on an upward stroke. Obviously the 12 o'clock's up and the 6 is down. And the other thing to bear in mind, you've seen me doing this, is that if you want to dampen the sound for whatever reason, like I'm dampening it because I need to keep talking over the sound of it, but in playing it sometimes you might consciously want to kind of allow, to dampen the sound more quickly than it would dampen, normally and naturally. And there are two ways of doing it, and sometimes you can do both together, or one or either of them. One way is you grab hold really of the rim of the gong. Really at the back is the main point, and you just grab the rim and you hold it there, and then the sound dampens. So I'll just demonstrate that. Okay. And or you can press the mallet against the surface, and that quietens it. You get a longer sustain with that as well, but it does dampen it down really quite fast and quite nicely doing that. And of course, you can do the two together. Yeah? So dampening is a really important feature to have. Okay, so getting back to it, so let's create the sequence. So we'll do the sequence of 6, 3, 12, 9. 6, 3, 12, 9. 6, 3, 12, 9. Now, what I notice when I just play that, with that kind of quite soft, quite slow rhythm, is that the sound, quite quickly, it gathers energy, and it gathers volume, and it gathers that sense of presence. And so just those simple strokes like that, and that simple sequence, really creates something really quite amazing. And then what we can then do is we can then play in the center as well. So we've got the 0 up and the 0 down. So we can go 6, 3, 12, 9, 0 up, 0 down. Powerful. Okay. So that's something to work with, just those positionings. So that's kind of like going around and then playing in the center. The next way we can play it is to think in terms of diagonals. So you can start off by playing, say, just the 3 and the 9 to begin with, or it could be the 2 and the 8. Doesn't really matter. Whichever diagonal you use, it's a similar principle of, I'll go down and up, down, 3, 9, 3. Okay, so you can do the diagonals like that. So it could be also another point about the direction with which you create the glancing glow, the glancing glows. The glancing blows is if you kind of reverse the direction from what's normally assumed. So normally on the bottom half we're going down, but if you actually go up, can you hear that? You're actually increasing the frequency. So the pitch is going up slightly. So there's a difference between playing it down and playing it up. So you're increasing the frequency at the bottom by doing the reverse, and it's the same at the top. Instead of going up, if you play it downwards, you're lowering the frequency. So again, it's just these subtle differences in the way we play. So we can play that 1 o'clock note in that way, and we can play it in that way as well. And we're creating a different tone, a different effect. There's a slightly different frequency being generated in that way. So you can play around with that and become more conscious of that as you go along. So we've got the sequence there of playing around, and we've got the sequence of playing the diagonals. So what we can do then is we can think in terms of building up the rhythm within a sequence. Yeah? So we might have a sequence where we start off by playing maybe 3 times, once in the middle, yeah. So we're playing in that kind of way of approaching it. We're playing the same note successive times. So we're playing it in the same place, one after the other. And you can do this a number of times. I mean, typically, you know, you might want to do this up to 6 even times, and then start off in somewhere else. Yeah, the other thing about playing on a, you know, on the same place successively is that if you want to, this is probably the most effective way to build the loudness, to build the volume and the amplitude of the instrument. It's just playing in the same place. Just repeated, same strokes. It really, the amplitude builds up very, very quickly. And so there is a particular function to doing that. And of course, the benefit of playing in the same place repetitively is that it kind of locks the mind, you know, and enables our clients, whether they're on their own or in groups, to really kind of zone out at that point, to really, you know, the mind gets locked, and in that space, you know, we can then relax and let go. So there is a real value in terms of just playing successively in the one place, both in terms of the amplitude. It's the quickest way to get the loudest sound, and also it has that effect of locking our minds. And so that's a really good point to bear in mind. Now, what happens when you play on the diagonal is that you can get particularly if you do the 3 and the 9, you can get this kind of, you can get it wobbling, you can get the gong wobbling. And with that wobble, there can be a kind of a bit of a wah-wah effect sometimes. Now what happens is that when we create that wobble, what we're then doing actually is we're creating this, we're forcing the sound to kind of move backwards and forwards with that wobble. And so what that has the effect on for the listener, because they're out in front of it, generally is that that's affecting the vibrational quality that's coming into their ears, and it actually causes both the left and the right hemispheres to kind of get more into sync. So that's a really important, you know, one of the really good reason for playing the diagonals is to create that side-to-side wobble. And then of course what we can do as well is to create the swing, so we can get this kind of pulsing waves of energy, waves of sound energy coming backwards and forwards, moving forwards with the swing and backwards. So it creates a different kind of energetic form. And so we can work with that swing, and the swing, with a swing we can allow for the pulsing and the blossoming to emerge and come fully out into the space that we're working in. So that's another really good thing. And we just need to be aware that with both of these is that it's just allowing the natural swing to occur. But you can play it so that as it's swinging towards you, you can strike it as it comes towards you, and you can also strike it as it's going away, and you can still keep the swing going, if you know, by striking it in both places. But it has slightly different effects. If you strike it as it's coming towards you, it has the effect of amplifying the sound, and if you strike it as it's going away, you diminish the sound.